Hello, so today I'd like to talk about uh, the Taurus Poly Protector in 357. It's a fine little firearm for what it is. I'd like to talk about its pros, its cons, why I like it, why I don't like it, and why I don't necessarily recommend it to people. However, I want to do this video because it is a fairly affordable firearm and there's apparently more than a few of them out there. So we'll start with the basics of its construction. The inside of the frame here is all steel, barrel is steel. We have an aluminum cylinder and push rod, aluminum trigger. The push rod, by the way, is the part that you use to eject your casings. The hammer back here, that's an aluminum part. The transfer bar, which is the part that actually keeps everything moving in here. The hammer doesn't actually impact the cartridges like in the old style. In here there's a small bar that transfers to a firing pin. So that's how that works. We have a rubber grip. Everything else is poly to make it nice and lightweight and easy to carry. You can see it's got a fairly slim profile. That's helped by the 5-shot capacity, which slims down the cylinder. It's got what's called a semi-shrouded hammer. That means the hammer is partially covered, so it's harder to snag on things, keeps it a little clearer, and it's still heavily checkered, so it's easy to pull back if you want to go to single action. So it is a double action and single action. In single action, you pull the hammer back and it has a very light trigger from there. It's nice and easy to pull. It's very smooth. I find that it's just as good, if not better, than the Smith & Wesson, which is part of why I bought it. I measured it up against the Smith & Wesson of similar make and found it had a better trigger. In double action, it has a nice steady pull until you get to a certain point, and then it eases off. So kind of like on a bow where you have that little sweet spot where it's a little bit softer, and then from there it's just a small pull and there it goes. So it's a pretty good trigger. I've had no issues with it, but that double action is a little long comparatively. The sights on it are a simple rear notch that is non-adjustable, and the front, which is missing because yesterday it fell out, is a small fiber optic rod in here, red, green, orange, whatever, and that's your simple sights. They're non-adjustable. However, it's still fairly accurate. I've had no issues with groups with this whatsoever so far. So in the accuracy category, especially in the lower pressure loads, it's fantastic. The other thing is, because it is a 357, you can shoot your 357 rounds through it, which is where this rubber grip becomes extremely important, because a full throttle 357 through that little stubby barrel, it's a little rough on the hands. So that's a good feature to have. Not only is this a firearm that I don't mind shooting, it is my wife's favorite of all of my revolvers. She finds it to fit her hand quite nicely. She finds it easy and instinctive to shoot, and she also has pretty good accuracy with it as well. Once again, it's very impressive for a $300-ish gun with a 2-inch barrel to group the way that it does. I was very impressed with it. But one of the failings is those sights. You can't adjust them, and that rod, I've read on the interwebs that has also fallen out on other people. To fix it, it's just ordering parts. I'm waiting on parts. It's $15 for a pack of them. All you need is a lighter, and you can fix that. The issue that I have found with it is it has extremely tight tolerances, which is probably why it's so accurate, but what that lends itself to is some other issues. For instance, the cylinder being stuck. And when I say stuck, I don't mean that I can't revolve it to fire it. I mean when I try to open the action for loading or unloading, that it sticks. So what that means is you're doing a little more cleaning. If you don't clean this, you're going to have to whack it to get it open. You can see it takes a little pressure. It builds up in here and in here, and you have difficulty getting it open. So this is something you have to clean pretty thoroughly, or you're going to have issues. Now, I've heard that some other people have had issues with this same thing, just needed heavy cleaning. One of the things you may find you have to do is, here is your cylinder release, push that in, and I wrap right around, and I take my finger and I go as close to the end of the the cylinder here as possible so that I'm not twisting anything. This whole thing rides on this little arbor, and you want to not twist it just because it's not a good idea. So that's one of the major issues there, is I have literally been out in the field firing it and had to take my palm and smack it out. That to me is a bit of a problem. Now that's the only real failing that I've found here, that and the falling out sights. Other than that, it's a fantastically accurate little firearm. You can't really break it down past here, and I wouldn't recommend it because of the polymer frame. So this is, like I said earlier, a 5-shot cylinder, which is fine for most self-protection things or just going to the range. It's not a big deal. The issue I have with this specific one is that speed loaders can't be used with it. Because of the cut of the grip and angle here, you can't really get a speed loader in there. As you can see, if you do, it's crooked, which means when you drop them, if you drop them, it kind of fights with you. Maybe that's as fast as loading them one by one. Maybe it's not. I think that depends on the person. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the great parts about this is the versatility, because it is chambered in .357 Magnum, which means you can also shoot the .38 Special out of it. To kind of put that in perspective, the one in your left, my right, and the one in my left, your right are different. The one on my right, your left, is a .38 Special hollow point jacketed. The one on my left, your right, is a .357 Magnum jacketed hollow point. And you can see there's quite a bit of difference there, just in height and powder in the casing, etc. So there's quite a bit of difference. These .357s are also a lot more expensive than the .38. .38 Special has been around for quite a long time, so is .357. They're both a very proven round. For most self-defense things, you're going to find the .38 Special, especially with these nice hollow points, more than adequate. Now, is the .357 superior in power? Yes. Is it necessary? Maybe. I'd like to show you a round for the .38 Special that I think may possibly be ballistically superior, and I'll let you know about that as soon as I test it, but let me show that to you. So on my right, your left, you're going to see a Taurus .38 Special all copper round, and on my left, your right, you're going to see your jacketed hollow point .38 Special. Now, they're almost the same length. The Taurus is just a little bit longer, and it functions just fine in that Taurus, but the big issue is it's an all copper, hot little round that's made specifically for massive fragmentation and expansion. So if you're looking to put all that kinetic energy into something, this is going to give you a little bit more destruction than your standard jacketed hollow point. I have yet to have tested these on gelatin, but I have seen where they have been tested with fantastic results. That is why I say this may not be the best firearm out there. Is having a .357 in a small package like this great? Absolutely. Is it necessary when there's all sorts of lightweight, small frame 5-shot .38s out there? Probably not. Especially when you're going to find that most of the time you're shooting .38 Special out of this anyways, due to many different factors. So when I say I don't necessarily recommend it, if you're going to be carrying and you have to carry a small 5-shot lightweight .357, this is a fine piece. But if you find that a .38 Special is all you really need, then there's air weights out there. There's other options that you may find give you a little bit more for your money. But as it is, for a $300 firearm that fires .357, you can't really go wrong. So that's my take on the Taurus Poly Protector. If I've missed anything, or if there's anything you'd like to know more, please leave it in the comments.